One of the good things about metal roofing is its green benefits. Today on Q&A Mondays, we're going to be talking about the eco-friendly nature of metal roofing. Welcome to Q&A Mondays. I'm Thad Barnette with Sheffield Metals. Today we're going to be talking about the green benefits of metal roofing. And don't forget, there's navigation links in the description below so you can jump ahead to any of the topics we're going to be talking about today. Today I've got Julianne, Adam, and for the first time in person, I've got Lori from our Architectural Technical Department. I'm glad to have everyone on the episode today.
Thanks, Thad.
Thanks, Thad.
You're welcome. So first, let's hop right in. Is metal roofing recyclable? Now, this is a question that comes up pretty often. Is metal roofing recyclable at all?
100%. It comes to us as a recycled metal. It's produced. It lives its life. And at the end of its life, it then goes back into becoming some sort of recycled metal.
So when you guys get metal into the shop and it goes out on a roof, that's already been recycled?
Most of our metal that we're using has been recycled or has a recycled content in excess of 30%. Now, varies from mill to mill, from lot to lot, but by and large, most of the metal that we produce as far as steel goes is 30+%. Most of the aluminum is 90+%, and then the copper and zinc and things like that, that varies dramatically.
Mm-hmm. So almost a third or over a third of steel has already been recycled. So this has already been a different product, and now it's being recycled as a metal roof. And then,
yeah, potentially. So there's kind of two things that kind of factor in that. There's pre-consumer and post-consumer. Post-consumer is kind of just like that. It could have been a car, it could have been tin cans, things like that. Pre-consumer is when the metal at the mill may have had an issue, produced too much, missed the timing on a cycle of something, and then they just threw it back into the furnace and remelted it, made it into what ultimately was the metal roof panel or metal roofing system.
And aluminum, what you said was 90%?
Yeah, it comes to us. With
yes,
that,
yes, it
that
comes
it has
to us.
90% recycled content. Mm-hmm. But what's kind of really unique, although it might be old news now, but to look where we are today regarding all this recycled discussion, that steel, if you were to take steel and produce a coil and then a metal panel with new steel, how we're doing it today is only using 20% of that original energy. So the way we make it today, we're already saving 26%, only using 20%, 26% of the original energy that would have been used to make a new steel panel from new raw materials. Aluminum only uses 5% of the original energy. So that's really where we've come. Yeah. And also in aluminum, the process of making aluminum from recycled material reduces air pollution 97%.
Really?
So even though that's what we're getting already, but just where we've come, it's not only recyclable, now we've been even better stewards of the earth for that process.
Yes.
Is that just going to keep going up? Like, explain what the energy, what does that entail?
So that's like if you said, I need some new aluminum and I need to basically make, unrecycled aluminum panels. So to harvest the ore, to melt it down, to roll it.
It's a bauxite ore, very rare.
Yeah.
So say that would take, 2 million volumes of energy to produce a new piece, where the way we're doing it now with material that's already been, that aluminum that already is recycled itself, now that is only using 5% of all that energy it used over here to make a brand new one, aluminum panel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if a percentage of the metal used in the panels are already recycled when they come in, what about at the end of a roof's life cycle? How much of that roof is then recycled after that?
100%. Every piece of metal in that standing seam is definitely going back 100%. But right off the top, the roof absolutely goes back to becoming another piece of recycled metal somewhere along that chain.
Yeah, and it's not just the roof panel. We kind of look at it as the roof system. So where your tapes and sealants and gels and pipe boots may not be able to be immediately recyclable, that is a really small percentage, but of the system as a whole. We use underlayments that are fully recyclable. Most underlayments generally are not, or they're asphalt-based, so they're difficult to recycle. We use shark skin products, which again are fully recyclable. Clips, fasteners, kind of you name it, we're making sure that we're using items in it that are fully recyclable at the end of its useful life.
So depending on the manufacturer, depending on the installer, depending on what system, some accessories may or may not be recyclable, but at Sheffield we try to keep as much recyclable material on our roofs as possible.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of keep that sustainability piece, going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So beyond the recyclability, what other green benefits does metal roofing have?
Yeah, so PVDF coated metal roofing is traditionally known as cool roofing, or over time it's developed into what's considered cool roofing, meaning they're using highly reflective pigments, and by that they're reflecting the sun's rays more so than traditional other roof types. And what that's doing is reflecting the sun's rays, and then just the inherent nature of metal is that it's highly emissive, meaning, most roofing types, if not all, retain a certain amount of heat generated by the sun. Metal's no different. The difference is that it gives the heat back off, or it emits the heat. So it's highly reflective, reflecting a lot of the rays, thus keeping it cooler than a traditional roof, and then it gives that heat off. So this leads into things that LEED has developed as far as getting credits for that, because you've got a more sustainable building. As well as, that's more on the, commercial side, and then on the residential side, the focus seems to be more on Energy Star and having a highly reflective roof there.
So how about from an installation standpoint? What are some ways to encourage green roofing when it comes to installation?
I think one of the benefits of, or how to present this process that we do, the portable on-site roll forming, and installing at that point versus buying a preformed standing seam metal panel from a manufacturer that produces that way. We have some really cool math examples, but it shakes out that essentially on-site portable roll forming will produce 3 times the amount that would be produced in a factory where they're preforming the metal panels, crating them, putting them on multiple truckloads, driving them over the infrastructure, versus on-site roll forming. One trailer brings the coil, and the product is produced on-site. Another installation plus is no scrap, and that, again, the transportation effects and advantages. Getting back to LEED, L-E-E-D, they have a points where you can gather some points there, falls under regional manufacturing. It was at 500 miles of where it's produced, harvested. They have a couple of definitions that way. They've dropped that to 100 miles. So we also have regional manufacturers, people with a larger metal shop, and they produce the panels within a confined environment. So there's some options there, but big plus there.
Yeah, and by and large, with our customer base and really our network of Sheffield Metal Systems manufacturers, we can get in that 100-mile radius pretty readily available, coast to coast. Other benefits from it are just inherently by controlling your own manufacturing. You can be closer to the job site. You can order what you need. You're not having to order panels weeks in advance at an excess length, be it 1 foot, 2 foot. It's not just a waste of material, usable material, but it's a waste of labor and time and energy. So, the intent would be, you're going to order the roof based off of prints, or maybe, a substructure or a subframe that's up, but you can then go to the job right before you're about to start installing panels, run a tape up and realize that you need this exact footage, this exact length, and start cutting panels to that length. Less labor, less waste, less scrap, so you're not pulling from panels where you need to cut, a foot off of each panel to make it work for the project.
So those are a couple good ways to keep in mind green roofing when installing. Portable roll forming on site utilizing regional manufacturers to reduce shipping time, shipping effects, things like that.
Yep. To kind of sum it all up, I mean, our focus isn't just on sustainable product or sustainable building materials. It really comes down to the process where, we're not just focused on a material, we're focused on getting that material to the product and used in the most efficient, effective way to contribute to that sustainability, moving forward.
So if you want to learn more about how metal roofing is eco-friendly and sustainable building materials, you can check out our architectural page on SHEFFIELDmetals.com. And you can contact Lori for any information. She does a great job educating both homeowners, building owners, architects, you name it, on all of these topics and more. Subscribe to Julianne's blog on SHEFFIELDmetals.com as well. Comment below for any questions that you might have. We'll answer them in a future episode of Q&A Mondays. Subscribe to the Metal Roofing channel, and we'll catch you next time.